Welcome to lecture number 3 of our geography course. I'm Mr. Anderson, and I am here to give you expert instruction on 4 waterways of the Western Hemisphere. We're going to do Hudson Bay, Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea, and the Panama Canal. But before we do that, let's take a look at a world map and just go over some of the stuff we have already covered. And here it is. Let me see if I can make it just a little bigger. There we go. Too big, too big. It's too big. Let's scale it down. There we go. All right. We know the 7 continents of the world. For instance, what is this thing? You said North America, you are absolutely right. North is at the top of the map, south is at the bottom. So this must be what? If you said South America, you are absolutely correct. What's this big frozen ice cube right down here? What do we call that? Antarctica. You are correct again, Antarctica. And the one that everybody knows and would love to visit, Australia. Very good, Australia. And over here, we have the birthplace of mankind. This is what? Africa is correct. Then we have 2 continents stuck together. They are divided by a mountain range. Those mountains are the Ural Mountains, U-R-A-L. Very good. On this side of the Ural Mountains, we have Europe. Okay? And the monster, the really big one over here is, of course, Asia. Okay? Okay, so we have Asia, we have Europe, we have Africa, we have Australia, we have Antarctica, we have South America, and North America. All right, you probably got those figured out by now. Let's take a quick look at the oceans. What is this thing? You said the Pacific, you are absolutely correct. And this, of course, is the Pacific also. What do we call this one right here next to the country of India? Okay, here's India, the country. It is the Indian Ocean, the Indian Ocean. And this one must be the Atlantic Ocean. And up here at the top of the world, no landmass at the top of the world. No landmass up there. This is the Arctic Ocean. Arctic Ocean. And anyway, you get the spelling. Okay, good. All right, did you remember all of those? I hope so, because if you didn't, that's not a good thing. Okay, next thing we did yesterday in day number 2 is we looked at the seas and important waterways in the Eastern Hemisphere. Let's pull that map up, see what you remember. And let's slide it over here a little bit. There we go. We learned the Sea of Japan. Sea of Japan is right next to Japan. Okay? These islands right here is Japan. Not a big country, is it? And right next to it is the Sea of Japan. Okay? Here's China. To the south of China, we have the South China Sea. And we learned about how that could be a potential flashpoint for war in the future. And over here, we have probably the most dangerous waterway currently. That is the Persian Gulf. And here is the Red Sea. And we took a clip out of the 10 Commandments and saw Moses part the Red Sea and learned that story. And up here, we have the Suez Canal. Okay? So we got 5 important waterways in the Eastern Hemisphere. But today, we are going to look at the Western Hemisphere. So let me see if I can slide that over. There we go. Today we're going to look at Hudson Bay, which the reason I chose these different waterways to include in our lecture is usually because they are important in some way. Usually from those people that utilize the waterway, what they are utilized for, those countries that surround them. We picked out the important ones. The Hudson Bay is the exception. Hudson Bay is not all that important, okay? The reason I include Hudson Bay is because people are always asking when I've taught the class for, what's that big thing up there at the top? Well, that is Hudson Bay. Hudson Bay is not as big as it appears on the map because this is what we call a Mercator projection, which we'll talk about later. It makes northern portions of the world appear much bigger than they are. I mean, look at Greenland up here. Okay, Greenland looks like it's bigger than most of North America. It, in fact, is not bigger than most of North America. In fact, it's much smaller than it appears. But people would always ask about Hudson Bay. Hudson Bay, not that important. Hudson Bay is named after Captain Henry Hudson, one of the early explorers trying to find a Northwest Passage. Okay, you remember your world history. Here's all the Europeans, and they want to get out there and find a quick way to get to Asia, because Asia is where you get all the spices and the silks and all that stuff that makes them a ton of money. However, going around Africa, that's a long, long trip. You go all the way down here, that takes forever. So they get the idea, why don't we just sail west? Go west, and we will get to Asia much quicker. Well, yeah, they had no idea how big the Pacific Ocean is. The Pacific Ocean is huge. But before that, they thought they could just sail west. That was Columbus's idea. We're just going to sail west, go to Asia, turn around, come back again. Well, they did not know that there was this giant North and South America in the way. So they, when they figure that out, they're trying to find a way around it. And so they're looking for a Northwest Passage. Well, Henry Hudson is one of those that's looking. He actually sails up the Hudson River here, thinking, yeah, that'll get me to through North America. He had no idea how big North America was. That didn't work. Somebody else sails down the St. Lawrence Seaway right here. Yeah, that doesn't work either. That doesn't get you. But Henry Hudson gets really excited when he gets to Hudson Bay. Okay, so he's looking for a northern route, goes up here and runs into lots of ice. Then he starts sailing west, and he's going, and he's going, and he thinks, this must be it. Look how far west we've come, haven't run into any land, and they continue to go until, boom, they bump into Hudson Bay. Ah, bummer, he says, or dump into North America. Well, he begins to sail south then, thinking maybe he can find a way around it, but he can't do it. Wintertime comes, their ship actually gets frozen in the ice. They're worried that their ship is going to collapse and be crushed by the ice. They pretty much abandon the ship. They go ashore. They build little shacks. They trade with the Indians for something to eat, and they spend a miserable winter. It is freezing cold. They have very little food, and they are so glad when springtime finally comes. The sailors are all glad because now it's springtime, we can get our ship and go home, get out of this godforsaken wilderness. Henry Hudson, he's excited for springtime because now he can continue to look for the Northwest Passage. So he says, come on, boys, let's go find the Northwest Passage. And the sailors say, no, we don't think so. We're going home. And the captain, then Hudson gets all officious, says, I'm the captain, I'll do what I tell you to do. And the crew says, no, we don't think so. So they put him adrift in a longboat in Hudson Bay, and he was never heard of again. And they sailed back to England. Okay, that's Hudson Bay. Big place, not really that important of a waterway. Okay, let's go down here and look at the Gulf of Mexico right here. The Gulf of Mexico looks like a big round circle, and it is in fact a big round circle because people say, scientists say, this is an impact crater from a rather large meteor. How do they know that? Several different ways. They've actually gone down the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, found minerals and stuff that really shouldn't be there. So where did this stuff come from? Well, it was probably carried in by this giant meteor. You may have heard the term Pangea. Millions, billions years ago, all of the earth forms of all the continents were in one mass. And with plate tectonics over the zillions of years, they have split apart. You can kind of see where they went together. I mean, take a look here, South America, hey, that kind of jutted into there. And Africa, that kind of jutted in right about here. But where did this big hole come from? Pretty well convinced that this was a meteor impact, obviously a really big one. In fact, lots of scientists tell us that this was what killed the dinosaurs. Big meteor came in, crashed down, blew a big hole. All the dust goes up in the air, blocks out the sunlight, kills the plants. Dinosaurs eat the plants, so the dinosaurs have nothing to eat, and so the dinosaurs die. So anyway, that's the Gulf of Mexico right here. Okay, Gulf of Mexico, pretty important place. A lot of oil in the Gulf of Mexico. The United States pumps lots of oil out of the Gulf with off-sea drilling platforms. In fact, most of our refining capacity for oil is right down here, right where all the hurricanes come. So something they're always mindful of. Mexico also pumps some oil out of there. So that is the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, let's go down and take a look at this sea down here. Everybody always remembers this one because of the movie Pirates of the, and immediately your brain thought Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean. Aptly named movie because the Caribbean has a famous history of pirates. Okay, harken back, long time ago, we had all of the explorers from Spain came down, they took over the Aztecs, they took over the Incas, they found tons of gold and silver, constantly shipping gold and silver back to Spain, so much that it basically doubled the amount of gold and silver contained in Europe at the time. And pirates, yeah, pirates would love to get their hands on a treasure ship. Well, usually Spanish would form them into giant convoys protected by warships. But hey, storm comes up, treasure ship breaks a mast, falls out of formation, pirates are right there to snatch it up. So yeah, big history of piracy there. The piracy kind of went down after a while once all the gold and silver had been shipped out. Actually, something new became the big popular thing to get out of the Caribbean, and that is sugar. They made fortunes on sugar. Now, you want to get rich? You want to get rich? You invest in something that is addictive. You know, for years, people that invested in the cigarette companies made good, steady income because people were addicted. They kept smoking those cigarettes. Well, sugar is also hugely addictive. Europeans could not get enough of it. I personally am addicted to sugar. Okay, it is the god of my idolatry. I love sugar in all of its manifest forms, particularly those that involve chocolate too. Okay, so this is the Caribbean Sea. Very important waterway. Becomes even more important when we dig the Panama Canal. Okay, Panama Canal, right there. Yesterday, we took a look at the Suez Canal. I tried to show you a little video of the Suez Canal, and it didn't want to work for us. So we're going to try again. I want to show you a video of the Suez Canal. Did I say that right? I tried to show you Suez Canal yesterday. I think I said something wrong there. Anyway, tried to show you Suez Canal. Didn't work. We're going to show it to you right now. This is a quickie little trip through the Suez Canal. And then I'm going to talk to you about the Panama Canal, and we will learn a little bit about that. Okay. So here is a little video clip, time-lapse photography. You're going to go through the Suez Canal in 90 seconds. Okay. When you first get to the Suez Canal, you have to get formed into a convoy. So you're parked outside the canal until they get the convoy formed, and then each ship has a pilot. Okay, here we are speeding through the desert. Look at both sides of the canal. No high mountains, just flat desert. Each ship has a pilot. The pilot is very familiar with the waterway. Okay, now we are in a big lake that is in the middle of the transit through. This lake did not exist before the canal was dug. There's ships going the other way. There was a big depression there, though, and when they dug the canal, it filled with water. Now, this is a convenient place because this allows the ships to go past each other. Now, you just notice that parts of the canal are two-lane. On the other side of that berm on the left is another lane for ships going the other way. So the pilot is there. Now, it costs money to have a pilot on board. However, ships always use pilots because the pilots get the ship through safely, and they pay the pilots because insurance companies, if you use a pilot, will charge you lower insurance rates. So everybody uses them. It's a pretty sweet job because you basically do the same thing every day. You know the waterway's cold. Here we are. We're almost all the way through it. Takes about a day to get through it, and now we're out there where it's dark. The convoy split up, and the little trip is over. Okay, so that's a look at the Suez Canal. All right, let's talk a little bit then about the Panama Canal. Now, I gave you all the details about the Suez Canal yesterday. A name I didn't mention to you was Count Ferdinand de Lesseps. Lesseps is the guy that built the Suez Canal. He was a huge celebrity. You don't think of engineers as being celebrities, but this guy was, because he made a whole bunch of investors extremely rich. Even though the Suez Canal went way over budget, even though the Suez Canal took longer than they thought it would to build. Once that thing was built, those people who had invested money in it made a ton of money. Those people who hadn't invested wished that they had. So everybody then immediately looks towards Panama. This is the other prime place to build a canal. People have been talking about building a canal there ever since they discovered how narrow that isthmus was. So all these investors go to Ferdinand Lesseps and they say, hey, Ferdinand, we want you to build us a canal. And we're going to give you all this money to do it. So Lesseps, he loves being a celebrity, loves being a star. So he says, okay, I'm going to do it. Well, they try and they fail miserably. 1880s. When you went through the Suez Canal, you saw flat desert on both sides. Easy to move sand, not a lot of rocks. They found something different with Panama. There's a mountain range that goes down through the middle of Panama that you have to somehow get through or over. But the big thing that really stopped the canal building process was yellow fever and malaria. The workers, the engineers were dying in droves. Eventually, you couldn't get any Frenchmen, engineers, to agree to go down there. They said, no, the average life expectancy is 4 or 5 months for a Frenchman that went down there. The disease was a killer. And so the French gave up. Well, at that point, we have Teddy Roosevelt becomes president. Now, Teddy Roosevelt is a gutsy, hard-charging, overachieving guy. And he says, yeah, the French couldn't do it, but we can do it. USA, USA, hooray, USA. And so he buys the French and decides to go ahead and go to work on building a canal. Well, there is a problem. Actually, there's 3 problems. 2 of the problems you're already familiar with. There's a mountain range in the middle, and we have yellow fever involved. Yep, those are problems. But we have a 3rd problem. The 3rd problem is that the Colombians aren't going to cooperate with the Americans. Okay, there was no Panama at this time. Colombia controlled what is now the country of Panama. So there was no Panama. Colombia thought, okay, well, we made a deal with the French. Let's make a deal with the Americans. But the Americans are really rich, so let's sock it to them. Let's demand a huge amount of money. And they do. And Teddy Roosevelt gets all ticked off. He says, they're trying to rob us. They're trying to rip us off. And so Roosevelt says, no, not going to do it. I've got another idea. Now, every city in the world has got what you call a chamber of commerce. This is where the business owners and the bigwigs get together and plan things out for the city. So Roosevelt sends an emissary down to Panama City and says, hey, listen, Panamanians, I know you don't particularly like those Colombians. You pay taxes to Colombia, but they never give you anything in return. Why don't you guys declare your independence, and then we'll deal with you, and we'll build a canal, and you'll all get really rich. Well, the Panamanians, they really like that idea, but they say, yeah, but if we declare independence, Colombia is going to send an army down here to kick our rears and hang us in the public square. But the emissary winks and he says, don't you worry about that. Uncle Sam's got your back. So the Panamanians declare their independence, and sure enough, the Colombians load an army onto their ships and send it up to Panama City. Now, why didn't they take the road up? There was no road, okay? It's just this big jungle. So if you're going to get there, you got to go by ship. So when the Colombian admiral gets there, he discovers a whole bunch of American battleships. And the American admiral says, Colombians, you better just turn around and go back home, or we're going to sink you all. And the Colombian admiral, realizing that discretion is the better part of valor, does so, and Panama becomes a free country. And the very first thing they do is lease 10-mile stretch through the middle of their country so the U.S. can build a canal. Okay, well, that's the first problem taken care of. What are we going to do about yellow fever? Oh my gosh, this is some serious stuff. What are we going to do about that? By the way, here's the information. I'm sure you're looking at it on how long it takes to get through and the cost and all that stuff. So what are we going to do about yellow fever and malaria? Now, if you are an ecologist, if you love the environment, what I want you to do, I want you to close your ears, because I'm going to tell you some horrible stuff that the U.S. did. U.S. realized that malaria, yellow fever, this is spread by mosquitoes. So if we can get rid of the mosquitoes, we can get rid of malaria and yellow fever. Well, where do they breed? They lay their eggs in bodies of water, still non-moving bodies of water. So if you can get rid of those, then you can get rid of the mosquitoes and you can get rid of the malaria. So the U.S. takes a whole bunch of guys, puts backpacks on their backs, or little tanks full of some kind of petroleum product, oil or turpentine or something like that. And they line up shoulder to shoulder and they walk across the Isthmus of Panama. Every standing body of water gets sprayed with some kind of a petroleum product. And sometimes they'll flip a match on it and a big whoosh, because little boys love to play with matches and cause big whooshes. And so they basically pollute the entire Isthmus of Panama. However, it works, kills all the mosquitoes. Well, can't other mosquitoes fly in? Yeah, they can. However, something most people don't know is mosquitoes never really fly more than a half mile from where they're born. And so we have taken care of the mosquito problem, which has taken care of malaria and has taken care of yellow fever. And there's that third problem. What are we going to do about that mountain range? It's not sand like the Suez, it's hard rock. And they realize digging a ditch across here is going to be impossible. We're going to have to build locks. Okay, locks is a way that you can move ships up and down. Let me show you a short video of a ship going through the Panama Canal, at least part of it. We don't have time to do it all. Going through the Panama Canal, it shows you how the locks work. Okay, let's take a look at this video. All right, here's a ship. It's coming in from the Pacific. And it's coming to the first lock. Okay, you can see two locks there. You can see a ship right there in one of the locks. We're going to go into the other one. Now, if you look ahead, you see a ship just ahead of us that just moved ahead. Oh, do you see what happened there? All the water in that lock ahead just flooded out. Okay, there comes the next lock. You can see the ship ahead of us. Okay, now watch what happens to your ship. They drain the water out of the lock in front, and it raises the ship in the lock that we're in right now. Gates open, we go into the next one, and the process is repeated. Now, ships going through the canal do not go through under their own power. You see these little tractors off to the side in the video. These are called donkeys. They're just little tractors. They drag the ships through from one lock to another. And we've gone through this lock and we head on in. Now, in the middle of Panama is a very big lake that covers a big part. That lake did not exist when we started building the Panama Canal. That lake was actually created by damming up a bunch of rivers and building that lake. So we have locks that take you up to the level of the lake, and then locks on the other side that take you down. Okay, and here we are going into the next lock. And there's a better view of the little donkey on the side there pulling us through. And we're going up, and the gates open, and we are now into the lake. Now, as we go through this part, you'll see some of the digging that had to go on as we get up closer to these cliffs. They did have to blast and move on a massive amount of rock to make this happen. This is the famous Calabres cut, where they moved so much. You can see on the sides of the cliffs there, they dug it all back. All right, I'm going to move us forward here to the exit locks. I want you to look at just how tight these locks are. See that big cruise ship next to us there? That can just barely squeeze through there. My sister and brother-in-law went through Panama Canal the other day, and on liners, they have people up on the front, and they have a little camera pointed there. It goes to the internet. So you can stand up there and wave to everybody back home as you go through the Panama Canal. Kind of a cool thing. Okay. Now watch what happens here. Watch that lotion liner. See it going down? Actually, we're going down too. Okay, we're going down, making our way out the other side of the Panama Canal. Okay, so that's what it looks like. That's how it works. Panama Canal is this amazing project. Saves shippers a ton of money having to go around South America. Now, they have done a lot of improvements on this thing. Back under President Clinton, we gave the canal back to the Panamanians. Lots of people were screaming about, oh my gosh, don't do that. The Panamanians will screw it all up. Oh, they haven't. They've done really an excellent job of maintaining and improving the canal. Ships got so big that they couldn't get through the canal. And just about 3 years ago, they finished widening the locks. And so now just about every ship in the world can get through the Panama Canal. Okay, so that is the fourth one that we wanted to take a look at. Let's pull up our map again. Just do a short review. Okay, you need to know Hudson Bay up here. You need to know Gulf of Mexico right there. Caribbean Sea. Panama Canal, those are the ones we covered today. Over here we have Sea of Japan, South China Sea, Persian Gulf, Red Sea, Suez Canal. Make sure you are studying and learning those things. Tomorrow, we are going to continue looking at different waterways. We're going to focus in on Europe. We're going to do 9 or 10 European waterways that are really important. We're focusing more on Europe because our history basically came from Europe. Europe is an incredibly important place, and these are waterways that you will, most educated people know where these are, and I'm going to make sure you know where they are. So, hey, have a great and wondrous day. It's a pleasure working with you, and I will see you tomorrow.